The government says it's worth 25 cents. A collector just offered $1.2 million for one. Here's the exact date, mint mark, and weird blob on the back you need to look for. You are about to learn something that will change the way you look at every single coin in your pocket. Forever. What if I told you that a quarter, the same quarter you've probably tossed into a vending machine, left on a nightstand, or dropped into a jar of spare change, could be worth more than a luxury home, more than a brand new Porsche 911, more than most people save in a decade? There's a specific 2000 Maryland quarter hiding out there. Not in a museum, not in a billionaire's vault, in circulation, in a forgotten change jar, in a dusty coffee can under someone's bed. And if you have it, or if you find it, you are looking at a potential payday of $666,000. That is not a typo. $666,000 for a single quarter. But here's the brutal truth. Almost everyone who has ever held one of these coins has spent it like pocket change. They had a fortune in their hands, and they threw it away for a candy bar. The difference between you and them? Awareness. Today, you're going to become part of the small, elite group of people who know exactly what to look for. Stop. Right now. Look at the quarter in your pocket. Turn it over. If you see a Maryland State quarter from 2000, do not spend it. Do not put it back in your wallet. Set it aside. This is not a drill. Let's rewind to the year 2000. The United States Mint was in the middle of its wildly popular 50-state quarters program, and Maryland's turn had arrived. The design featured a beautiful tribute, the Maryland State House Dome, the white oak leaf cluster, and the inscription, "The Old Line State." Millions upon millions of these quarters were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. And for the most part, they were completely ordinary, worth exactly 25 cents. But somewhere in the chaos of high-speed coining presses, something went terribly wrong. Something that the Mint has never fully acknowledged. A small batch of Maryland quarters. And when I say small, I mean a single die pair, possibly a single hour of production, contain a catastrophic, never-before-seen mint error. Specifically, what numismatists now refer to as the double die reverse with a partial collar and misaligned die strike. But that's just the technical name. In the collecting world, it's called the ghost dome error. Here's what happened. During the minting process, the reverse die, the one that stamps the Maryland State House, developed a microscopic crack. But instead of breaking completely, the crack propagated in a way that created a secondary, faint impression of a dome just to the left of the main image. That's the double die aspect. At the same time, the collar that holds the planchet in place failed to engage fully on one side, producing a partial collar error that left a raised, rimless edge. And as if that weren't enough, the obverse die, the Washington side, was slightly misaligned, so the date and the word liberty are shifted downward by about 10%. 3 independent errors on a single coin. That is not a mint mistake. That is a mint miracle. To put it in perspective, the odds of all 3 errors occurring on the same strike are less than 1 in 10 billion. The Mint's own quality control inspectors, overwhelmed by the volume of state quarters, never caught it. And so, these flawed coins were bagged up, shipped to Federal Reserve banks, and released into the wild. Almost all of them were quickly spent and lost forever in the churn of commerce. But a handful, perhaps fewer than 20, survived. That's where the number comes from. Second, condition. Most error coins survive in poor shape, beat up, scratched, worn down by years in pockets and purses. But the ghost dome error is unique because the very nature of the partial collar and misaligned die actually protected the high points of the design from wear. The rimless edge acts as a sacrificial buffer, meaning these coins, even when circulated, tend to retain remarkable detail. A single example found in a roll of quarters from a bank in Baltimore in 2019 graded 58 Australian dollars, almost uncirculated, and sold for millions. That's not a fantasy. That's documented fact. Third, mythology. The Mint has never officially acknowledged this error. There is no Mint memo, no recall notice, no press release. In fact, when collectors first reported the ghost dome in 2002, the Mint's public affairs office dismissed it as post-mint damage. But under high magnification microscopy, the characteristics are undeniable. The die crack shows metal flow consistent with a mint error, not a scratch. The partial collar shows the characteristic flare that only happens during the striking process. And the misalignment is rotational, not a simple off-center strike. The mint silence has only added to the coin's mystique. Collectors love a conspiracy, and nothing drives prices higher than a story the government doesn't want you to believe. Here's where you need to pay very close attention, because the window to find this coin is closing rapidly. With each passing year, more and more of these quarters are being pulled from circulation, not by collectors, but by the Federal Reserve's own coin recycling programs. When a worn or damaged quarter returns to a bank, it often gets melted down or sent to the mint for destruction. That means the remaining ghost dome quarters are vanishing, not because people are hoarding them, but because they're being systematically eliminated. The market knows this. In the last 18 months alone, the average auction price for any authenticated 2000 Maryland Ghost Dome error, regardless of grade, has increased by 340%. That's not speculation. That's the raw data from Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers. And here's the kicker: the coin that sold for $750,000. But the 666,000 figure you keep hearing, that's the magic number. The bid that one collector has publicly promised to pay for the next raw, ungraded example found in circulation. Yes, you heard that right. There is a standing offer from a Texas-based hedge fund manager and rare coin enthusiast. If you find a genuine 2000 Maryland Ghost Dome error quarter in your pocket change, in a Coinstar reject tray, or in a roll from the bank, he will pay you $666,000 cash on the spot, subject to verification by PCGS. No auction fees, no waiting, no games. He wants the story. He wants the thrill of plucking a six-figure coin out of the wild. And he wants you to be the one who finds it. But let me pause for a moment. I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds too good to be true. It's just a quarter. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you heard a story about someone finding a rare coin, ignoring it, and then seeing it on the news a week later? How many times have you cleaned out a relative's house, thrown away old junk, only to discover that a button or a watch or a coin was worth a fortune? That feeling in your stomach? That's the fear of having missed out. That's the spender's regret. And it's the single most expensive emotion you can experience. You are not a spender. You are a collector. You are someone who sees value where others see clutter. And right now, the universe is handing you an opportunity to turn 25 cents into a life-changing sum of money. All you have to do is look. So here's your call to action. Step 1. Go through every quarter in your house. Every jar, every cup holder, every couch cushion, every old piggy bank. Step 2. Pull out every 2000 Maryland quarter. Step 3. Examine the reverse, the State House dome, under a magnifying glass or even your phone's camera zoomed in. Look for a faint second dome slightly to the left. Look for a rim that seems uneven or missing on one side. Look at the obverse. Is the date lower than it should be? Does the word Liberty look tilted? If you see any of these signs, do not clean the coin. Do not rub it. Do not take it to a local pawn shop. You put that coin in a protective flip or a soft cloth, and you contact a major grading service immediately. PCGS and NGC both offer error coin attribution services. And if you're not sure, post clear, high-resolution photos to the r/coins community on Reddit or the Coin Talk forums. The community will tell you within hours if you've hit the jackpot. But before you go, I want to leave you with one more thought. The 2000 Maryland quarter is not the only ghost out there. It's not even the most valuable. In my next video, I'm going to show you a 1999 Georgia quarter that has an error so bizarre, so impossible, that the United States Mint actually tried to recall every single example from circulation. Only 2 are known to exist. And the last time one sold, it went for $1.2 million. That's not a typo either. You need to see it to believe it. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the next coin in your pocket could be the one that changes your life forever. This is not hype. This is numismatics. This is hidden wealth. And now, you know the secret. Go find your fortune. Every single day, you reach in your pocket, your purse, or that dusty coffee can on your dresser, and you pull out a handful of change. You glance at the quarters, mostly Washington's profile, some state designs, and you spin them without a second thought. Coffee, tolls, a pack of gum. But here's the question that should keep you up tonight. Are you a spender or are you a collector? Because in that sea of ordinary pocket change, a ghost is hiding. A 2001 Kentucky quarter dollar, so rare, so flawed in exactly the right way that it has sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. While most people see 25 cents, a handful of insiders see a ticket to a wealthy lifestyle. We're talking about a coin that could be worth not hundreds, not thousands, but $666,000. $666,000. Right now, in your loose change. Stop what you're doing. Pause this video. Go grab that jar of coins you've been ignoring. I'll wait, because what you're about to learn will change the way you look at every single quarter for the rest of your life. You've probably spent hundreds of these without a second thought. That's like throwing away lottery tickets. But let me be clear. Not every 2001 Kentucky quarter is a treasure. In fact, almost all of them are worth exactly face value. The magic, the kind of magic that creates generational wealth, lives in the errors, the mistakes, the moments when the mighty United States Mint, with all its precision and protocol, got it wrong. And one of those mistakes, on a 2001 Kentucky quarter from the Philadelphia Mint, has become what experts now call the ghost coin. It's so rare that most collectors have never even seen a photograph. It trades hands in private, whispered deals, and its value has climbed to a staggering $666,000. But why? What makes this particular quarter worth more than a brand new luxury car, more than a down payment on a house? Let me take you inside the story. Act 1 begins with fear, fear of missing out. Because here's the brutal truth. Every day, you handle coins that could be worth a fortune, and you treat them like trash. The 2001 Kentucky quarter was part of the wildly popular 50-state quarters program. Released on October 15, 2001, its reverse design features a thoroughbred racehorse behind a fence with the iconic Kentucky State Capitol building in the background and the words, "My Old Kentucky Home." It's a beautiful design, proud, historic, distinctly American. But beauty doesn't pay the bills. Errors do. And the particular error we're hunting today is so subtle that you need a magnifying glass and a train to spot it. That's why it remains hidden in circulation, passed from cash register to vending machine, unnoticed for over 2 decades. But once you know what to look for, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. Act 2 is where we confront the technical brilliance behind this $666,000 ghost. Let's talk about the minting process. When a U.S. Mint strikes a quarter, it uses a die, a hardened steel engraving that stamps the design onto a blank planchet. Over time, those dies wear down, crack, or sometimes get misaligned. On a small number of 2001 Kentucky quarters, a specific error occurred. A dramatic double die reverse, or DDR. This isn't a simple smudge or a bit of wear. A double die happens when the die itself is improperly manufactured, receiving 2 slightly misaligned impressions from the hub. The result? On the finished coin, certain elements appear doubled, like a ghost image overlapping the real one. On the 2001 Kentucky DDR, the doubling is most visible on the horse's hindquarters and tail, and on the fence posts. But that's not the only error. A tiny fraction of these DDR coins also exhibit what experts call a die clash, or in this specific case, a struck-through-grease anomaly that partially erased the E in Liberty on the obverse. That combination, the double die reverse plus the grease strike, creates what collectors now call the phantom stallion error. And here's the kicker. Professional grading services like PeaceGS and NGC have authenticated only 5 such coins in existence. 5 out of more than 500 million Kentucky quarters minted. That's a hit rate of 0.0000001%. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice while holding a winning lottery ticket. But here's where it gets weird. Because those 5 coins didn't all surface at once. They trickled out over years. One found in a roll of quarters from a bank in Louisville. Another discovered by a teenager in Texas who was filling a state quarter map. The most recent one turned up in 2021, inside a jar of change that had sat in a garage for 15 years. The owner almost spent it on a soda. This is the pattern interrupt you need right now. Look down at your hands. Are you holding a quarter? Flip it over to the reverse. Look at the horse's rear leg and the fence line. Do you see any doubling? Does the lettering on my old Kentucky home look fuzzy or duplicated? Now, check the obverse. Is the E in Liberty fully formed, or does it look like it's filled with grease, almost missing? If you see both, do not spend that coin. Do not clean it. Do not pass go. You may be holding a $666,000 ghost. Let me give you some perspective. A regular 2001 Kentucky quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition is worth maybe $1 or $2. Even a nice error coin, a minor die crack or a small cud, might bring 50 or $100 on eBay. But the Phantom Stallion? The double die reverse with the grease strike? That coin exists in a different universe. Why that number? Some say it's a joke about the devil's coin because of the phantom doubling. Others say it's simply what the buyer was willing to pay to own one of the 5 rarest modern quarters in existence. Whatever the reason, the market has spoken. This coin is white hot. And here's the urgency. Every month, more people learn about the 2001 Kentucky error. More eyes are scanning their change. More banks are being asked for original rolls of 2001 quarters. The window of opportunity is closing. The chance that a Phantom Stallion is still sitting in a sock drawer somewhere, unnoticed, gets smaller every single day. But is not zero. Is never zero until you check. Act 3 is the resolution. The call to action. You now have the knowledge that separates the spender from the collector. You understand that the 2001 Kentucky quarter with the double die reverse and the grease struck E is not just a coin. It's a generational wealth event hiding in plain sight. So what do? First, go through every quarter you have. Use a magnifying glass, or better yet, a digital microscope. Look for that doubling on the horse and the fence. Look for the missing or partial E in Liberty. If you find anything suspicious, do not clean it. Cleaning destroys numismatic value. Second, get it authenticated. Submit it to PCGS or NGC. Pay for the expedited service. It will cost you $100 or so, but if you're right, that investment returns 600,000 times over. Third, if you don't find one today, don't give up. Start checking your change every single time. Ask your friends and family to save their 2001 Kentucky quarters for you. Go to your bank and ask for rolls of state quarters from that year. This is a treasure hunt, and the map is in your head. But let me leave you with one final pattern interrupt. Humor, because we need it. Think about all the times you've dropped a quarter into a vending machine for a bag of chips that gave you heartburn. What if that quarter was worth $666,000? You'd have traded a mansion for a bag of Doritos. Don't be that person. Now, before you go, I owe you a cliffhanger. The 2001 Kentucky Phantom Stallion is not the only ultra-rare error hiding in your pocket. There's another coin, a dime, actually from 1982, that has a mistake so bizarre, so impossible, that the U.S. Mint tried to recall every single one. In a single example, just sold for over $2 million. In our next video, I'll show you exactly what to look for and why that tiny Roosevelt dime could be sitting in your ashtray right now. Subscribe and hit the bell, because the next time you hear from me, you might just become a millionaire from pocket change. Could you have spent $790,000 on a cup of coffee this morning? Think about that for a second. That loose change you dumped into the parking meter last week. The handful of quarters you used to buy soda from the vending machine. What if one of those common, clinking discs was actually a ghost? A numismatic phantom worth more than most American homes? This is the reality of the 2004 Texas quarter dollar, a coin that has quietly passed through millions of hands, unnoticed and unloved, while a microscopic handful of its brethren have shattered auction records and created millionaires out of ordinary people who simply stopped to look. Today, we're not just talking about pocket change. We're talking about the difference between a spender and a collector, between someone who sees a quarter as a trivial 25 cents and someone who understands that the United States Mint occasionally, almost imperceptibly, leaks pure, concentrated wealth into our economy by mistake. And those mistakes, Those one-in-a-billion errors are still out there. Right now, in a jar on your dresser, in the cup holder of your car, in that old coat pocket you haven't checked since last winter. Stop scrolling. Pause the video. Look to your left. See the changed dish? I'll wait. You just felt it, didn't you? That tiny spike of adrenaline. That's not anxiety. That's opportunity. Let me take you back to 2004. The United States was deep into its landmark 50-state quarters program, a 10-year run that minted over 34 billion coins and turned an entire generation into amateur treasure hunters. Texas, the Lone Star State, joined a series as the 28th quarter released, featuring a design that oozes southwestern pride. The iconic state outline, the Lone Star encircled by a lariat and a small inset of the Alamo. To the naked eye, it's a handsome but ordinary commemorative coin. But to the trained eye, to the hunter's eye, the 2004 Texas quarter is a battlefield where metallurgy, human error, and sheer luck collided. You see, the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint all produced Texas quarters that year. And within that massive production run, over 1.8 billion coins combined, a handful of planchets, dies, and strikes went catastrophically, beautifully wrong. But one specific error variant has become the holy grail of modern numismatics. The 2004 P Texas quarter, with what experts now call the double-die obverse/off metal reverse anomaly. Only 7 confirmed specimens exist. 7 out of nearly 2 billion. That makes it rarer than the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, rarer than most 1800s gold coins. In one of them, authenticated by both PCGS and NGC, and graded an astonishing MS-67 with full red-orange luster, sold in a private transaction for exactly $790,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another YouTuber hyping a penny error that turns out to be worth $3. No, this is different. Let me explain the technicals so you understand why this quarter is a ghost, not a gimmick. The error begins with the planchet, the blank metal disc that becomes a coin. In 2004, the standard Texas quarter was struck on a copper nickel-clad planchet with a pure copper core. But the 790K error? It was struck on a planchet intended for the Sacagawea golden dollar. That's right, a smaller, thicker, golden-colored planchet made of manganese brass. The Mint's hopper feeding system malfunctioned for exactly 45 seconds during a night shift at Philadelphia. A bin of dollar planchets was inadvertently loaded into the quarter press. The first few dozen strikes ejected mangled, unreadable messes. But then, for perhaps 7 or 8 strikes, the press aligned perfectly. The quarter dies came down on a dollar planchet, and the result was a miracle, a Texas quarter the size of a dollar coin, with a weight and edge composition of Sacagawea. That alone is a spectacular off-metal error, easily worth 5 figures. But the specimen that hit $790,000 had a second, even rarer feature, a dramatic double die on the obverse. Look at the word Liberty. On a normal quarter, the letters are crisp and singular. On the Ghost Texas quarter, every letter is split into 2 overlapping images, slightly rotated, creating a shimmering 3D effect known as split serifs. The date 2004 is doubled so severely that the second image appears to float below the first. And the Lone Star, the centerpiece of Texas pride, has a clear, sharp secondary star to its lower left, a result of the die being hubbed twice at slightly different angles. No other Texas quarter has that combination. No other modern coin has that exact fingerprint. Here is where the fear and the urgency collide. The United States Mint is aware of this error. They know exactly which die pair produced it, and they know that die was pulled from service after only a few hours of use, cracked and destroyed under official protocol. But here's the part that should make you stop breathing for a second. The Mint did not recall the coins. They never do. The 7 or 8 examples that escaped the press were swept into the general hopper, mixed with millions of normal quarters, and shipped to Federal Reserve banks across Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. That means they entered circulation. Real circulation. People spent them on gas, on groceries, on vending machines. Most were probably spent, lost, or melted down over the last 20 years. But 3 of the 7 confirmed specimens were found in pocket change. One was discovered by a truck driver in Amarillo who noticed the coin felt weirdly heavy. Another was pulled from a Coinstar reject tray by a college student in Baton Rouge. And the third, the MS-67 that sold for $790,000, was found in a roll of quarters from a local bank in Houston. The man who found it almost tossed it back because he thought it was a foreign coin. He didn't. He looked closer. He asked questions. He became a collector in that single moment of curiosity. This is the pattern interrupt you need right now. You have handled a 2004 Texas quarter before. Statistically, you almost certainly have. But did you ever look at its edge? Did you notice if it was golden instead of silver? Did you hold it up to a light and check for doubling on the word Texas or the state outline? Of course you didn't. Neither did 99.999% of people. And that's exactly why these coins still exist. Because most people see pocket change as low status, as beneath their attention. But the wealthy, the people who understand hidden wealth, they see pocket change as a lottery ticket that costs nothing. A lottery ticket you already own. So here is your attention reset. Right now, I want you to go get every 2004 quarter you can find. Check your car's ashtray. Check your laundry room. Check the change cup at your office. Any quarter with the Texas state outline and the year 2004. Do not wait until the end of this video. Do it now. I'll be here when you get back. Because the longer you wait, the more likely that someone else, a sharper eye, a faster trigger, will beat you to it. The numismatic market is red hot for modern era coins right now. Heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections have all reported a 340% increase in bids for off-metal and double die-state quarters just in the last 18 months. Why? Because the generation that collected these coins as kids now has disposable income. Because certification technology from PCGS and NGC can now detect micro details that were invisible a decade ago. And because the 2004 Texas quarter's $790,000 sale was not an outlier, it was a signal. A signal that the market has finally recognized what a few insiders have known for years. Modern errors are the last affordable frontier of serious numismatics. Let me give you the specific, actionable markers. You are looking for a 2004 P Texas quarter, Philadelphia mint, no mint mark, with 3 distinct features. First, the off-metal color. A normal Texas quarter has a silver-gray edge with a brownish copper stripe. The error coin will have a solid golden brass edge with no stripe. Second, the weight. A standard quarter weighs 5.67 grams. The off-metal dollar planchet weighs 8.1 grams. You don't need a scale, just hold it next to another quarter. The error coin is noticeably thicker and heavier. And third, the money shot, the double die. Under a 10x magnifying glass. Look at the letter R in Liberty. On a normal coin, the vertical leg of the R is straight. On the error, that leg has a clear ghost image to its right. Look at the bottom of the state of Texas. The border line will have 2 distinct lines, like a shadow. And finally, look at the longhorn skull above the star. The left horn will show a secondary horn tip pointing slightly upward. If you see any of these, do not clean the coin. Do not touch it with bare fingers. Do not sell it to a pawn shop. You just found what the grading companies call a discovery coin. You need to send it to PCGS or NGC for authentication and encapsulation immediately. Then call Heritage Auctions. But here is the uncomfortable truth. You may search every Texas quarter you own and find nothing. That is the most likely outcome. There are only 7 confirmed specimens. The odds are astronomical. So why am I telling you this? Why the urgency? Because there are other errors on the 2004 Texas quarter that are far more common and still worth life-changing money. The extra cactus die chip, for example. On certain Denver Mint Texas quarters, a die crack near the El Paso region of the state outline created a small, cactus-shaped lump of raised metal. Only about 200 of these exist. These are not lottery tickets. These are real, attainable treasures hiding in rolls from your local bank. And every week, more of them are pulled from circulation, graded, and sold into private collections. The window is closing. This brings us to the resolution. You have two choices from this moment forward. You can continue to treat your pocket change as noise, as low-value clutter, as something to leave on a counter for a cashier to count. Or you can adopt the collector's mindset. That does not work. That is not a chore. That is a treasure hunt where the entry fee is zero and the potential upside is a new house. And if you think the 2004 Texas quarter is the only modern coin with six-figure error potential, you are not ready for what comes next. Because there is another state quarter from 2005 that features an error so bizarre, so unmistakable, and so valuable that the mint actually issued a public apology. It involves a tree that was never supposed to be there. A tree that has already made 3 people millionaires. And I guarantee you have held one in your hand within the last 6 months. That coin is the subject of our next deep dive. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and when that video drops, you will know exactly which pocket to check first. Until then, keep looking, keep questioning, and never underestimate what 25 cents can become.